Hi, this is Gary with G's Bees, Newalla Bee Company, and today we're going to assess the yard and kind of talk about spring management techniques and things you can do to help them in the spring, help them get through the spring. Spring's a very important time because they oftentimes will be low on their stores. Good to check their stores, good to feed if you need to feed, sugar syrup, and today we have mixed up some sugar syrup. And basically what we did is I had these gallon jugs and we basically put 4 pounds of sugar in and we ran the rest full of water and we shook it up, and it makes a 1-to-1 syrup, which really gets them to start drawing their wax and pulling their foundation. It also gives them something to eat, and they also to put stores back for later. And they also are doing pollen this time of year if you've got it coming in. So watch your entrances and see if you've got pollen coming in. I can tell you I don't have a lot of pollen coming in right now. And the main reason I know that is because if you'll look at this pollen feeder over here, this pollen substitute feeder, they're still all over it, which tells me they don't have a lot of natural pollen available to them. So that's a good indicator, a good way of kind of indicating and just watching your entrances if you don't feed pollen set. And so that's a good way of finding out kind of where you're coming on the pollen. So if you do not have pollen coming in, it kind of depends on what you want to do. And that's why you need to pre-plan kind of what you're going to do before you get in the hives in springtime. And really all the time. But the main thing, getting in early in spring, you need to determine, did I come out light? Are my bees just a couple of frames of bees left? Or are they really strong? And you can determine that, and as you go through and do your assessment of your hives, you can take a marker and just write a 1, 2, or 3. I do that a lot, and that allows me to know which hive, 1 being the weakest, 3 being the strongest. And also, you can write that also for your stores. And that way you know which ones you need to feed. And it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to expand your apiary, grow more bees, and you need to put the pollen patties on and feed the sugar syrup where they can start drawing out the comb so the queen will have a place to lay. And also those pollen patties will stimulate brood rearing. So you need to check for your queen, make sure your queen right. Equalize your colonies. If you've got really weak colonies, you can go through your really strong colonies and you can equalize them. And then start feeding the pollen patties to them. They'll start doing a lot more brood rearing. You'll see a lot more brood. You should have brood this time of year, especially here in Oklahoma. It depends on where you're at, but right now in Oklahoma, you should be seeing some brood coming out. And depending on how much, you shouldn't be, if you just got drone brood, then you probably are queenless. And so you need to take that in consideration and take steps to either, once you get some of your own going, you can have them raise a queen, you can buy a queen, whatever your plans, you could take those bees and put them in with a queen right colony to boost them up. So there's several options, and that's what you need to determine what you need to do with your beehives at this time. So we're going to get in these hives today, and I'm just going to assess kind of how they took the global pollen patties that we put on about a week ago. We've got a really good week of weather coming up. We're going to be in the 60s and 70s pretty well all week. We just got off another snow after we put those pollen patties on. We had a little cold snap down in the 20s and 30s, and we had about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of snow. So all the snow's pretty well melted off. They're out and about today. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of assess how they took the pollen patties, if they need more pollen patty, if they even took them at all. So we'll assess and see how our global patties did. We'll put the sugar syrup on, and you can see how much we put in for the 1-to-1, and that really stimulates them to start some wax production and to build on those combs. So I'm going to get my suit on, get suited up, get the smoker lit, and we'll get inside and see what we see.
Go.
Speaking of food sources, I have been out in the trees today and I've been noticing a lot of trees are starting to bud, so there is some pollen sources coming, and it won't be very long before we've got some good nectar sources in these trees, which, you know, is very important because one tree, they say, equals about 1 acre of planted flowers. So we've got a lot of trees out here, and trees are very important to the bee. So keep an eye on your trees. That'll kind of give you an idea when your pollen's coming in also. Got my suit on, got my smoker lit up, and we're gonna get in these and just kind of assess some things today. So we're gonna open them up and see what happens. So it looks like they are hitting this sugar cake pretty hard. You can see where they've really done a lot to the sugar cake, and right under the sugar cake is the pollen patty. So we'll see if they've taken any of that. It's been about a week now. Yes, they have taken just about all of that pollen patty. So they took that global patty really well. You can see here that is all that is about left. So I'm going to come back here in a little bit and go on ahead and put some pollen patties back on them. There's about 4 frames of bees there. We could see if we're seeing any more brood than what we saw last week. Okay. We'll get in here real quick and just see what the brood's looking like, if any, from last week. So we do have quite a bit of brood on this frame, as you can see. Quite a bit of brood by this side. We do have some larvae, and we do have just a little bit of nectar stored on there. That next one, about the same as this one. So that's really about all I need to see of what they're doing right now. We'll put another pollen patty on them in just a little bit. So on this pollen patty, I usually like to just put the holes down where they can get to it. One side has them, one side doesn't. And I like to put them about in the middle of where they're rearing the brood. And I like to put about a half a pollen patty on, or even less if it's smaller, just so in about 10 days time, 7 to 10 days when you do your next inspection, they're pretty well going to have that gone. So you won't have, you know, a bunch of hive beetles hatching in it and everything. I'd like to keep them small where they can handle it. I try to smoke them down wherever I'm going to put this at, so that we don't crush any bees. And when you put it down, you can kind of smush it down just a little bit. It is a little pliable, and they have really taken these well. So I would highly recommend the global patties. So you can see that this colony hasn't taken to the sugar near as much as the last colony did. So they either have better storage down below, or they're not as big. So it looks like they have not taken this pollen patty very well, so we're going to go ahead and leave that on. And they are a little smaller. You guys got about 3 frames of bees there, so they are just a little bit smaller. And we'll take this. They have taken some of that pollen patty, maybe about half of it. And we'll take a look at a brood, see what we got going on brood wise. There's the queen right there. There she is right there. You can see the queen moving the other ones out of the way. She's looking for a place to lay lots and lots of eggs. I don't know if you can see those. I'll try to get it in the light, but she has laid this area right here just full of eggs. So she is doing her job. So they should be having a good some cap brood very soon, and we'll continue feeding them on that pollen patty. Put this back together the way it was. They don't have much to really like, so we are going to feed all these today because that other colony was very light also. And we'll try to smoke these guys out of the way. And put this a little bit farther forward than I had it, right in the middle. Go ahead and put the sugar back on top. Next colony. The colony is really weak. Might be a combined colony to where we go in and combine this colony with another colony. I'm not even going to pull this off. We may not have a queen. We can look to see if we've got any eggs or any brood, but it's only basically 1 to 1.5 frames. So let's see what we've got. Taken just a very little bit of that since last week. So let's see if we can even see a queen or see some eggs or any brood, or yeah, they're just not much going on. Very little. That queen is very small. I don't know if you can see her or not. She's right here. She's very, very small. I am seeing some eggs. Just very little. A few larvae that don't look very well, so these guys may have to be combined with someone else. So we're gonna put them back in. Oops. Let's back it that way. Make that queen. There was a few eggs on that one frame and that was it. So there's just not enough bees on there to even support that. So we'll see what we do with them in a later video. See, they haven't taken much sugar in this. Probably gonna take this super just all the way off because I don't believe they're using it. There's a few bees in there, not many. Same way with this one's about maybe just a hair bit better than that other one, but I take a little bit of that pollen patty. Check to see if they have any brood, since these two are right next to each other. We might do a combination, combine these two hives. There's a little bit of brood, a little bit of larvae. See a little honey on there, got some nectar going on. They're coming along. I may leave them alone or combine them with that one next door because they're definitely, there's the queen right there. See, she's working. She's right here. She's just going to go around on the other side of the frame. She's on top of the frame currently. So we're going to put her back in and let her get back to being busy. Okay. Put that down. Pollen patty on. Go ahead and leave this on. There is one frame they're kind of, we'll deal with that later. So they have been getting the sugar cake just a little bit. Some of that going on the bottom there, and we'll put it right there for the time being. See what they've done with this pollen patty. Not too much. Starting to fill some of these side frames. Some on that one. And out of the road, we'll get to this brood frame here and see what we see. We do have some brood. There's the queen right there. She's a really dark queen, if you can see her. See how she has the longer body. So she is laying. So we will put these guys back up, leave them, and give them some food, some syrup. Bit. You can see right in this area they're starting to hit that sugar a little, so they're pretty well out of any of their stores. Let's see how they've done on the patty. They've not taken too much. They've started on it, not taking too much of the patty. Bit of brood. Thing I could tell you about these deep boxes that have these dividers on them. Do not like those because you have to lift your frames up to get them over those dividers instead of sliding them. So that's one thing I don't care for. I'll probably eventually take those off. Put this back on. So you can tell just looking, when I pulled the top off, you can see right in here where this is just about to cave in. So they've been hanging out in this area right here as far as them taking their sugar cake down. And there's quite a few of them on there. So you can see. Been taking some of the patty. Good thing I'm not seeing any hive beetles today, so that's good. They've got nectar stores starting with this frame. Let's see what they're doing. There's some pollen coming in. I had some orange pollen on him. there's a little bit coming in from somewhere. Just want to see what kind of brood we've got going on here. So we have some brood, some larvae going on there. And so they moved up to the separate box. You can see he's got pollen going on him, this guy right here. So they moved up to this from the deep down to this medium box. So they've been using their stores in this medium box. What was left from last year. Doesn't look like there's too much left. This is all full of nectar. I don't know if you can see that in the sunlight or not. So we'll just put these guys back the way they were. Feed them up for the next week. See how they do. Okay. Just a little bit right there. Boy, they're just about this one going, aren't they? They've taken just about all of their pollen, Patty. See, that's pretty well gone. Which can tell you probably they're a little bit bigger colony. Let's see what we got here. Too many. Good sign. Not any in that one. Just a bit of honey store in that one. This one is pretty well full. Slide these over. Let's see what we've got brood-wise. Let's see. Oh boy. Really good on their brood production. Got plenty of stores. Looks like she's got plenty of room to lay, so we probably will go ahead and hit them with some more syrup. Put them back together, get them a little more pollen patty. Here. So I've just about taken a big portion of this sugar cake down, as you can see. This colony was 3 medium boxes, did not have the deep brood chamber last year, so I just left all 3 on them, and they probably moved their way up to the top, which I guess they have, because they've just about wiped that pollen patty out. They're up on it. She may be moving back down because I'm not seeing a lot of bees in this box. You can see the bottom. They're hanging on to the bottom of this box, and there they are there. And they're looking good. I can see brood from here, so I'm not even gonna open them up. They'll move their way down if they need to. When and if they need to move down, they will. So I'm going to leave the pollen patty there. They are taking it. So we're going to feed them some 1-to-1 sugar syrup that we've already showed you how to mix up. What I do like about these is you can see how much they're taking and how often they're taking. So you can add it up. These are only pint jars. I used to use quarts. I've been using pints just because it's easy. And so they will probably be on the lid, and you can see, well, she got holes, and they are looking for some feed. So we will knock them off of there. Open this up. Fill them up. And usually that'll last a day and a half to 2 days, sometimes just a day, depending on colony size and how much they're taking. And I'll just go down the road, do the same thing with the rest of them. They'll keep taking this feed as long as there's nothing, not a nectar flow on. And the minute the nectar flow hits, they'll quit taking it. So you'll pretty well know when you've got a good nectar flow going on, just by how much they're taking the feed. And this is a real easy way to see how much they're taking and if they've quit. Now, if you can, try not to get it on the outside of the feeder, because you could get some robbing going on if you spill a bunch on the outside. This time of year, I really haven't seen any problems with robbing, but it can happen. So try to keep everything on the inside as much as you can. And a little bit of vinegar that we put in the recipe just helps keep down on the, helps keep down on the mold, on the jar and on the lids. So that's why we included that in there. Some people do, some people don't. I found that it does a pretty good job, because you can see the bottom of that lid doesn't have anything on it, or very little if any. When I wasn't doing that, the bottom of that lid would be black after the first time you fed, and this is about the 4th time I fed this year, so you can see that I think it works. It just takes just a little bit. See, now that's an old lid. I did put some new lids on, but there's an old lid, and you see it's starting to come in on that old lid. Okay, I got them all filled up, and I'm going back to the first one, and let's see what they're doing with it. Yep, there's some already on it. They're taking. So, get that one back in there. Get back in there. Okay. There we go. This is Gary with G's Bees. I'd appreciate it if you enjoyed it, that you leave me a like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll show you the little that I know. Maybe you get some tips out of what I'm doing, and I appreciate you watching. Thank you.